Hi, what is up? How's it going? Well, this is, another episode of Pancake Marathon, where essentially this is just my flavor of how I carry my message, how I interpret to practice those principles in all my affairs. And so, just simply to say, I am not the face of any recovery program. It says it right there in the literature, Tradition 6. And yet, so does Tradition 5 and 4. Say what I just said. To get the practice, to carry a message, and let it happen, except for matters, right? Going against Tradition 6, essentially. Now, I could kind of have an idea, and yet I don't. I just know the power of not isolating upon the idea of what I want to communicate at this point in my life. It's funny how you just show up for that miracle and things seem to line up. Yeah, like I talked about in, trusting God essentially, and all those kind of things, and maintaining essentially is everything, right? Is that not what step 10 is essentially about? Maintaining. And when you need to go back and change something, you do, right? That's just another way of interpreting and how I can practice these principles in all my affairs, because I know that I am not going to perfect those steps, because if I can't become the face of it, right, essentially, how can I change any of it? And then would that not distract in the simple means of itself from the absolute, what is super, super important, which is what? To carry a message. It truly, truly is. That's what it's about, is to carry a message. And that's where the whole, sense of itself of, I was going to say group consciousness, right? But that's essentially what Tradition 4 is about, in a sense of saying. And yet, here I am, communicating how I communicate. And that's really what it's about. Being good for you to be good for others. And now as I say that, I recalled that's kind of why I wanted to talk about today. To be good for you, to be good for others. And it is essentially the same exact thing as what I already said about carrying a message. In that of, you're here to practice, not perfect. Because that's the thing, though. I think it has something to do with the sense of burning desire, right? Because we burnt our life down. And so if we're going to have a burning desire, which is essentially, not isolating, right? Finding that unity and in a common way, and you're giving that pain away, essentially, because you only have what you have to give, right? To that of the simple fact of, making room for what? That improvement, and looking at it with the, a willingness to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. No one is capable of pushing your rope in any way and getting you where you want to go and need to go and have to go or get to go or whatever is clever. It's up to you to put the work in, regardless if it's a sense of urgency or just okay, I'm gonna be lazy about this and act like I don't care kind of approach. It's up to you. You get what you get out of it, which is you get what you put into it. There's nothing in of itself that, like, I posed a question to essentially of the, as I like to call it, the AA book study group, essentially. and the chairs of that. And, you know, more commonly known as the Big Book study. And it's like, I don't preferably like to call it the Big Book in any way, shape, or form, in a sense, because it's goes upon that of you know, the creates hesitation and resentments, right? And brings you to a trigger, and then now you're obsessing over your past, you know, your experience of what it is as known simply as religion, the God thing, right? Because the Big Book is the whole, oh, that sounds like the Bible, and then well, this book has, you know, the God word in it, as well as it's I'm not sure. I just stepped away to get some coffee, and I'm not in a sense of saying I don't know. I just like I already said, I have this notion that somehow of doing a podcast such as this will bring me some clarity in my life. And yet going back to that whole concept of being good for you to be good for others. You know, cuz it was never that drug, right? The outside source that you put inside of you, and whatever it may be, right, is to blame. Essentially to say, you know, it helped you cope. Yes, it's in an unhealthy way, because are you really feeling good, great, or in that career, you know, the joy of itself, of the partying and in that moment to gain some, yes, it is temporary, of that the happiness, right? And that's even the same as sadness is temporary. If if you don't make progress, right? Essentiality. And so it's almost as what it can be of just finding a way to keep your peace of mind. Because I know in moments of anger and all those things as such, you don't do anything other than, you know, react. Essentially, you know, you're in a fear state, right? Something's not right. And sometimes you don't know how to convey that. And even if you do know how to convey that, are those that you're conveying this to able, within how much their skill set is and where they're at in life, and essentially living life on life's terms, capable as you expect them to be, in that of accomplishing what you need them to help you accomplish, right? And so it's not that you can't trust them, right? And it's not other than, you know, everyone is attempting to become good for themselves. And the outside things, you know, in a sense of what it can be, like the whole, you know, you're practicing the principles in all your affairs, right? And if you know, the whole aspect of, you know, like you're thirsty, right? And so it was that you know, we admitted that we were powerless over being thirsty, that our lives have become unmanageable because of it. We come to believe that a glass of water would restore us to sanity. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to that glass of water, as we understood how water will make us not thirsty or whatnot, you know, kind of a thing, right? And if you're supposed to practice that principles in all your affairs, right? Your affairs, which I know there's that word, right? In you know, when it comes to marriage affairs, oh, that's a bad thing. I don't want to have an affair, right? Yet, what is that affair thing? You know, it's you know, it's simply to say it is that of what is the action, the event, the moment of when you are, you know, divorcing from your future, your hope, the faith, essentially to say that that dog, that when you look in the mirror, you're like, oh God, right? I'm just saying, um, unless you cut out the letters and you just have it, then it's not reversed anymore. I'm just saying, yeah. The point is that you are taking your chances away from being the best teacher for whoever it may be, and then all those opportunities of just what is going to bring you actual fulfillment and joy, because that's what it really comes down to. You, or at least with my experience, happiness and sadness are fleeting. They are pretty much non-existent when it comes to what is real, what is actualized of truth and magnanimous upon itself, an absolute, a universal truth that is always going to be that of simply truth. And the truth will always set you free. The truth will always come to the light. The truth will always come to the surface. The truth will always surface, no matter what it may be. Even if they're super good at being a narcissist, essentially simply to say, and have neurotic actions, which are the verb of a narcissist, to simply say, even if they're trying to save face, which it really comes down to the simple fact that they're not out there to get you. They just want to eat today. And you're kind of just the quickest route to plow through you. And you should have moved faster. Right? But even if that happens, how can you be good for you to be good for others? I always absolutely think it's imperative that you find a way of the unity upon getting away from your sting of thinking, the incomprehensible, because it's going to lead you into a demoralization and its pitfall. And it's what's another way of saying step one, right? Absolutely. And so, omit, okay, arrest your thought process, the incomprehensible, the powerlessness against it, because that thing is going to make your life unmanageable. It's incomprehensible, or it's a demoralization, right? And just kind of a concept right there. Isn't that kind of a cool spiritual awakening that we had together? Because I just had that. I never put those together in beforehand. I just did myself at this moment. And so it's the power of, being good for you to be good for others, right? And it's also how true that slogan is to show up to that miracle, right? I don't know or yet have come to see, and I don't think it is, because my intuition's saying there's not, per se, to the simple fact of the matter of itself, that, just like what I'm attempting to say, in a sense of saying, how it's can be other than a detriment to carrying that message when you say, don't go to that barbershop because you're going to get a haircut. That slogan is correct when you're in a low state and your alcoholism's kicking in, right? A hopeless body state of mind is alcoholism. And yet, when you're, an active part of your recovery, your alcoholism's not there, right? And if you didn't pick up whatever it may be, then you are, practicing the principles in all your affairs, even if you did step zero research just recently, right? It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. You're always qualifying yourself in a sense of saying, showing up to that miracle. That's another way of saying that. To the simple fact of the matter is, of what is life when you're good for you to be good for others, right? And having that trust with a higher power, whatever that may be. Call it God. Whatever. It doesn't matter, in a sense of saying, this is my service commitment to what ultimately would be my group, right? Because each group has one primary purpose to carry a message, right? And so what group is this? Well, we can simply just call it right now Pancake Marathon. Absolutely. It truly, truly is that simple. And it's also, yeah, sure, it simply is that I'm not focusing on other than the solution. You get what you focus on every single time. It might not be in that moment of how you instantly wanted it to happen, and it's all about you in the sense, even though, there's the aspects of all of that, how recovery, in a sense, of the religious standpoint of itself, that you, how do I say this? In my experience, I've always approached life as spiritual, simply to say. And so there's value in everything, but what value is it? Learn everything you can about recovery. Everything, right? Give me all the information. Don't make me dependent on you, because I want to go ahead and find a way to have an understanding of a peace of mind, to be restored to sanity, right? Some clarity, the proper way of having a word that, to sum it up, and be able to get past the philosophy of it, of the discussion and communication of what this thing can be called, as such as like a fridge, right? I might need to be reminded where the fridge is in the house, because I keep on forgetting to put stuff away. I'm just saying. To what is me pointing this out of, my higher power, my peace of mind. In my experience, to become good for me, to be good for others, and it show up to that miracle, and practice the principles in all my affairs, simply to say, my higher power is as simple as, what is for just to convey it to you, of unconditional love, okay, or love, or whatever it may be, such as what it is. Yet simply to say, from my experience, how can you name anything? How can you put it in a box, basically, in that point, right? It is what it is, but if I judge it unworthy, then is it that? Or is it something else of my own making? Am I controlling too much? Am I not showing up to that miracle? Right? And so even from a religious standpoint, the true Christianity, in a sense of saying, is you can't name it. It can't be named. That God cannot have a name from a human conception, because that's not God. It cannot. You can't put it, I mean, you can, you're capable, but it's like in recovery from a have to. And that's why I know in recovery I get to find my own aspect in life and being good for me, right? Because it was the aspect of relying on the outside influences, in a sense of what that drug is. That part that is making my life unmanageable, and I'm powerless against it. Oh, so if I take an inventory, after I admitted, I made a decision, come to believe, made a decision, inventory, all those fancy things, right? And then communicated to others in a way that's not going to harm me, in the sense of saying, then it's okay. Yet, that's what I have to say today. And I get to say this today, because I'm so glad I had this spiritual awakening with you. And this is why we get to build together. Absolutely. It truly, truly is. It truly, truly is. So thank you for being part of my recovery today. Thank you, God, of my own understanding for being part of my recovery as well. You helped me so much. I thank you. And thank you, body. Thank you, entire body. Everything in it. Everything. And thank you, the outside bodies. Life in general, Yet, always remember, you do deserve to take up space. You do deserve to know that your shoes fit just right. And all it comes down to is showing up to that miracle. Being good or not good for yourself. It doesn't, just from that slogan, showing up to the miracle. Yet, practicing the principles on your affairs, becoming your recovery, being a leader, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And in that sense, the message is a weak link because it can't speak for itself. And that's why it's so amazing to carry a message and not change anything, not calling it unworthy, and yet have a great moment, because it's easy to make it meaningless. Misery loves company, and yet it's also easy to make it matter. Who do you want to be today? It's up to you, to the simple fact of smile now, smile later. Just smile, right? Even though you already are, right? In the sense of a frown is an upside down smile. A smile is a reverse frown. And then if you're just kind of like horizontal with your smiling moment, right? You're always smiling because it's in that stage of going from an upside down smile, a frown, or a upside down frown, a smile, right? To the simple fact of the matter is, I mean, we can also say, "Oh, you smiled in the past, right? Well, you're still smiling, right?" um, you know, just simply saying, it's also like another way of saying, did the chicken come before the egg? It doesn't even matter. It's still chicken, no matter what time frame it is. Quantum, string theory, all those things. Yet, have an amazing one. Have an amazing one. Maybe you need to get good for you after you see that you already are. Because probably the simplest way of communicating spirituality is seeing the perfection that you are having in you and holding. Anywho, thank you. I love you. You matter. You do. Thank you.